Welcome back to the Airport Road podcast, presented by Tonique Media and sponsored by Apparel. Now, we're coming straight from our homes for this podcast and this episode, and actually is kind of an excuse of why we didn't have a podcast go up last week is because of the rise of COVID cases around the U.S., especially in the New Mexico area and the Colorado area. So, we've all had our scares with COVID. Now, I'm joined here with Stepan and my co-host AJ. Obviously, Stepan filling in for Jake Never Easy.
Mr. Never Easy,
R.I.P. So Stepan is our head political editor at Tonique. Yeah, Stepan, tell us about your COVID experience.
Yeah, it got me.
Have you?
Yeah. The Rona, it got me. No, so my roommate had gone to a small Halloween gathering on Halloween, and sure enough, somebody there was positive, and we ended up. So I live with two roommates, and all three of us got just taken out for about a week, and quite honestly, we've been talking about this a lot. We feel very fortunate that it wasn't that bad. Honestly, almost 250,000 people have died, either directly from COVID or due to complications from COVID. So right. It's kind of counting our lucky stars here that it was.
So, forgive me if I'm off base for a little bit, and if I'm being an asshole, step in. So you didn't go to a party or anything like that, right? I'm assuming you've been pretty careful about this whole thing. See, that's what sucks. People are out here living their normal lives like nothing's going on, and it's getting to people like you who are just trying to do your best, just staying home. I mean, I'm not trying to talk shit against your roommates, but that's what's frustrating. That's what's really frustrating about this entire thing,
Yeah.
Because again, I'm sorry for being an asshole, but that's just irresponsible. I mean, especially like for Halloween parties, we kind of all knew it was going to happen. We all knew it was going to come that could be, a good wave. Forgive me.
Bring him in.
We got a fourth person here.
Hey man, part of the territory.
But do you still have it? Or are you over it?
I mean, technically, yes. Yeah, I'll be quarantining for at least another week, and then after that I can, start going to the store and all that kind of stuff. But as of now, it's just strict home quarantine.
Has it affected your work in any way?
Not really. I took off like a couple hours, and that was pretty much it. My boss has been pretty understanding, so fortunately, it's not really interfered at all.
See, that's good.
It's good. Well,
yeah. What were your guys' experiences?
Yeah, me and AJ have had pretty much similar experience, right? So mine was my girlfriend had a coworker that contracted it, and they had been working together. So, what is that called? Indirectly exposed is what happened to me. So, but it's crazy because like when she called me and told me like I had to work that day, like all of a sudden I like started feeling sick. I was like, oh shit, like this is it for me. So I called the boss. He told me to stay home, and yeah, it was just like I was legitimately terrified. I was like, holy shit.
They took you off the schedule for the week. That's what sucked. Like a week's worth of pay for a lot of people. Yeah, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Luckily, I got my test results on Wednesday or Tuesday night, so I only missed like 3 days of work. But yeah, it was terrifying knowing like within that unknowing. I was like, am I going to be able to work? Am I going to be able to do this and that? Like, I was like, I was with AJ on Monday and Tuesday, and I was like, I hope I didn't like do any like somehow something happened. So there's a lot of thinking.
But you were able to get tested like almost right away, right?
No, yeah, I got tested right away.
Whereas AJ, you've had a much different experience.
No, so I got called on Friday. I was already at work. I only work with, it's me and my boss in like a small little office. So got my call from my other job that, one of the people that I work with tested positive. And it pissed me off because my main boss wouldn't tell me. He says, someone you may have worked with tested positive. And I was like, can you tell me who it is so I can know for sure if I was with that person or if I was around them? And he couldn't tell me. So I had to call my other boss, this guy, who was, able to give me confirmation. But I thought that was kind of bullshit that they wouldn't even tell me who it was. Sure enough, it was something.
Is that like a legal thing, or is it?
I don't know.
I think he was just trying to be like, not scare you.
Yeah, he probably was trying to be discreet, didn't want to like embarrass the person, but I mean,
because I actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say at the end of the day, I need to know if it was somebody I was around or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like one of those things because he's definitely looking out for the other person, not in a bad way. Just it kind of comes across kind of bad, but just to like be like, a person's got it. We're not going to be naming who and put them in the spotlight. But so the way I found out was from a family member of hers, and they were like, "Hey, don't tell anybody." And I was like, "Okay, for sure. I'll let the head honcho do that." And then I told AJ, and I was trying to mess with him. Be like, "Oh no, wait, that was when we went back into lockdown, actually."
Yeah, so I guess it's okay because we're closed down for 2 more weeks anyway. So I was already gonna not be working for the next couple weeks. So not having to go in for work for the potential of having it didn't affect me. Because I was already not going to go in. But immediately, I told my other boss that I was with, and he left. He pulled out the Lysol, sprayed everything down, and went home.
Wow.
So I just stayed, in the office by myself. But I've called probably 16 places to try to get tested, and I cannot get in. I finally found a place that'll take me tomorrow morning, and I should be able to get tested and be good. But that happened Friday. I called all Friday, all yesterday. I had an appointment, and I walked in, and they pissed me off. They said something about my insurance. It was like a private place. They said there was a COVID testing center, so I went and applied online, got a schedule. They asked for my reason, my name, my date of birth. I gave all that, and I got there and my insurance. I was like, well, I thought it was free, but whatever. Here's my insurance. Oh, we don't take that. I was like, are you serious? I was like, I've been calling all over the place, and she started fucking laughing, dude, and it really pissed me off. And what she said, but she was like kind of like she was such about it, which I get. I'm sure it's super stressful to be working in that field right now. But like in my head, I'm like, shit, I'm like genuinely afraid. And same thing as you, Cade. Like I started feeling like shit yesterday. The only symptom that I've kind of had is I've had such a bad headache since Wednesday, and I know that's like the thing, but that was before I even found out. But I've just had such a pain in the ass, dude, for getting tested. Like, been trying to go. A lot of places are booked out throughout, like, next week. By the time I could get tested, it's already a week out. It takes another week to get your results, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous at this point. The point that we're at now.
Yeah.
And people wonder why we're getting locked down again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this third wave is going to be brutal. There was Ed Yong of The Atlantic wrote like a really just eye-opening article that is kind of outlining what we're in for. And, there's some silver lining, like the medical or the healthcare industry and especially like nurses and doctors have gotten really, really good at treating it. So like potentially there could be less deaths from that. But at the same time, like there's just so much infections that it's just going to overwhelm the healthcare system.
But they're already getting to that point, right? Like hospitals here are booked. They're all full. I have my fiance's 87-year-old auntie just found out she had it. She's gone to the ER twice, and they've turned her away both times. Just because, like, the first time she just went to get tested, or she went because she was scared. And then the second time she was, like, was having trouble breathing, and they didn't take her. And, like, luckily she's pretty healthy otherwise. I don't think it's affected her pretty bad. She, like, for being 87, she's in, like, really, really good shape. But it's rough, man. It just sucks. It's getting to the point where, like, easily a couple people that have it for the most.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, before it was kind of like, you get all those people that are like, do you even know anybody who has the coronavirus.
Oh yeah, for real.
I got one of those arguments with my dad Friday morning. He's like, dude, come on, do you even know anybody who has it? And then called him 6 hours later. I was like, hey, asshole, I have to go get tested now because I might have it.
Yeah, it's like, let's segue into politics, because obviously this has become a political issue. Wearing a mask has become a political topic nowadays. I mean, everything tied into COVID, which is a legitimate health issue internationally, has become a political issue. And depending on if you wear a mask or not determines your political stance, which is fucking absurd, right? So let's segue into politics. Like I said, last episode was filmed about 2 weeks ago, and we were trying to determine who was going to come out victorious. AJ, you're the winner. I know I said Trump.
Called it.
You're the winner, dude.
Well,
so
depending on who you ask, I was correct, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. So, let's talk about this, Stepan. You had an article about, was it last week? About how Trump wasn't going to be able to, basically was just going to be a sore loser about the whole thing, which you predicted perfectly, because obviously he's taking the election to court and taking legal proceedings. Mitch McConnell actually backed him up and said he has every right to do that. I mean, it's like he kind of lost by a big margin. So is it worth it? Like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the election. We actually haven't had an episode to really talk about it.
Well, we try not to get too much into politics, but it's kind of hard at this point, right?
Right, yeah. Well, also, it's like one of those things, it's like, it's comedic at some point.
Dude, I've been having such a good laugh at Trump on Twitter this week. Like, fucking guy is such a child, man. I cannot wait until he is out of office. They ban his account, and I never have to see that dude again. I know I can mute him, and I know I can block him, but that's just, it's not the same satisfaction,
Well, so here's what I think is like where we're at right now. We're at a watershed moment for the GOP, because they can either they have two options, essentially, the way that I see it. They either embrace Trumpism and kind of rally the base that has been, very much motivated by white ethno-nationalism. And in order to do that, if they choose that route, then they're essentially choosing the route of minority rule, because demographic trends are overwhelmingly against the GOP if they go down that route. If, on the other hand, they decide to diversify and, scooch a little bit to the left and to try to pull in more, voters who are college educated, female, and, people of color, then, they have to kind of abandon that like far right ethno-nationalist state that these, the far right extremists want. But it's up to them. They can either choose to try to use these anti-majoritarian governing or principles or institutions like the Senate and the Supreme Court, or they can just diversify their coalition and win democratically. So, I mean, that's why it's nice to just go on Trump's Twitter and laugh at him, but it's kind of fucking scary, because what's going to happen in 2024?
Do you think he'll even be?
This is a total watershed.
Do you think that okay, so I know people were making that argument that come 2024, we're just going to be put right back in the same predicament. But for me, if people are still caught up the same way that they're caught up now with that guy and the same kind of ideologies that he's putting out there, then that's a bigger problem than him himself. You know what I mean? Like, I get it that we hear Obama's name still a lot, but it's hard for me to non-biasedly even like process this in my own head as I'm trying to put it out there. I'm just saying, if we're faced with a lot of the Trumpism problems and like a lot of the same shit in 2024. That's a bigger issue than, that's its own issue itself. You know what I mean? Know what I'm trying to say?
Well, if the way I see it, if Trump comes back in 2024, that's a gift to the left, essentially, because Trump is first of all, he's not interested in governing, and he is so just short-sighted in his egoism and petulance that, his kicking and screaming, it does not look good. And people recognize that. But if we have a person who kind of espouses the same rhetoric and the same ideas, but is a savvy politician, then that's dangerous. Because then you could have someone who's like Andre Duda in Poland, or a Bolsonaro, or a Duterte in the Philippines. You have these people who are kind of generally utilizing a similar type of populism, but they're actually like technocratically proficient. So that's what scares me. Is maybe like a Tom Cotton or something who is more interested in governing, but who holds really similar ethno-nationalist ideas.
Right. Yeah. That is terrifying.
I guess, it can all get very morbid and depressing. So just gotta take it with a grain of salt and celebrate the positives, at the time. It's been it was a stressful week, stressful last 2 weeks. I guess it's already been. I went to bed totally. I was defeated myself. I told Cade, I was like, it's over. It's done. I don't even remember what else I said, but I was depressed, man, genuinely. So I guess it's, like I said, just take the wins now. But seeing the aftermath and the bitching and whining and kicking and screaming and the lawsuits everywhere and it's ridiculous. It's funny, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I've been telling the conservatives that I do know, who I knowingly who voted for Trump. I tell them, it could have been worse. It could have been someone who was ultra left, ultra liberal. I mean, you get a moderate in office now, okay?
It's just the idea.
It's not that bad.
But that's not.
It's the idea.
But that's not even it for people that think that way. It's they're so in their own minds. They're so oppressed. It's everybody's against them at this point. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? It doesn't even matter that, what you just said does not matter. It's the fact that it's not their guy. It's not Trump. The fact that they're not going to get to wave their flags and wear those stupid ass red hats. That's what it is, more so.
I mean, those will become a symbol, just like the Confederate flag, though. That'll symbolize.
Yeah, I mean, but it's being a football fan. Let's say the Patriots are Trump and the 49ers are Biden.
It's good analogy right there, Cade.
I had to put them. I had to use the Patriots, dude. Even though I'm a Patriots fan, I had to use the Patriots because that's the team that, if anybody was a president, the Patriots would be Donald Trump. But anyway, it's one of those things. It's who, and my team's gonna win. My team has to win. I don't care who it is. Even if the 49ers have connections with the Patriots somehow, and they're buddies on the side, the Patriots have to win. It's like that. It's just how it is. People are invested. So, it's kind of sad to see, but hey, let's just, I guess we can just wrap up the political topic with, Biden won. That's pretty much it. And hopefully down the line, we have some, hopefully down the line, I guess Biden has a better plan for how he deals with, the COVID.
Well, he's already released his COVID relief plan, and it's much more in-depth than anything we've done to this point.
Yeah.
He already has much more.
Yeah, I have a...
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, I have a segue into sports. Mm-hmm. So there was a Washington Post article that referenced I think it was a sports psychologist or something like that. And he or she had done a study that was saying how throughout the last multiple decades, sports fans have been more reluctant to accept a loss. So they've been more willing to say, oh, this is because of that one call, that one bad call, or because of that one, like, that one moment. So sports fans, at least in the United States, have become, very similar to how we are as voters today. If our team lost, then it was because there was some foul play.
It's just Americans
in
general.
That's all. Very prideful.
Country sucks ass. Sorry to say.
AJ, hey, I'll second that. Anyway, to jump, kind of wrap back around to Papa Antone. Remember that time he said, or the refs should get penalized? Remember that refs should be held accountable for the calls that were played into the game?
Yep.
It's like players get fined, the refs should get fined,
I struggle with that because it is very frustrating when you see refs like deciding the outcomes of the game. I mean, dude, I don't know if you guys have ever reffed like for like kids like recreational sports or intramurals or something, but it sucks, dude. It is rough.
Yeah. I mean, when AJ and I played intramurals, remember the refs had buddies. Yeah, so the refs were frat boys, and they had like their frat boy friends in some of the teams. So some of their calls would go their way. It was absurd,
dude. It was blatantly.
Yeah. It was like so blatant, dude.
It was like flag football, and you're not supposed to like wrap up or tackle or get too aggressive. And I had a couple plays where like I barely touched the guy and I'd get flagged. And then there were so many times, dude, I got hit in the nose, I got tackled, like brought down to the floor. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bad system where you can have, someone's cronies reffing the game.
It almost caused Cade to get in a fight, man. Cade stepped up to the that's how you know it was bad. If Cade gets aggressive.
The funny thing is, the lady who ran it was like legitimate. Like she ran it like a mob, dude. Like if you spoke out or said anything, dude, you're sleeping with the fish. Swimming with the fishes. But yeah, basically, it was hilarious. And they would make a bad call, and you'd be like, dude, what the fuck? And they knew they made a bad call, but they had their it was hilarious. It was hilarious. But yeah, sports. There he is. Bye, Beckham. Anyway, but yeah, with sports, have you even kept up with anything? Kind of what's going on?
No, not at all.
Well, I don't know if we ever talked about it because this is kind of a political topic. I don't think we ever talked about it, especially in our podcast in the past. But they added Colin Kaepernick back into Madden. Do you know that?
They took him out?
They took him out when he was kneeling, right? In the whole kneeling fiasco, they took him out of the game. And with the whole BLM movement kind of on the rise and, say his name. Madden this year, because me and AJ play it like every weekend, and we keep up with the updates and everything because on the first episode of our podcast, we talked about how Madden sucks. They added him back in the game, kind of like as a solidarity, like we're with you. However,
no, go for it. Sorry, keep interrupting.
Well, I was just going to say, however, they removed him in the past because, the NFL and Roger Goodell was trying to deal with the owners and how they perceived it and viewership. They're losing viewership because people who watch football are usually, have that masculinity, hyper-masculinity complex, you know what I mean? Like, keep politics out of sports type of talk, you know what I mean? That's just how it is.
They also... There was a song on the game soundtrack, and that said his name, and they bleeped his name out of that song. So they did a couple stupid things, but when they put him back in there, they overcompensated. They made him his overall rating is way better than it should be, than he has any right to be. What was it? It was in the 80s. And
it's 81. It was 81.
It's been almost 5 years since this guy's played. Can you hear the baby crying in the background? So... Anyway, so considering this, it's been 5 years since he's played. His last year that he played, he wasn't that great. The fact that they overcompensated and made him that good just pissed a lot of people off. But
Yeah.
Which people?
even people that like agreed with him, they're like, okay, like yeah, he should be playing in the NFL, but there's no fucking way this guy should be sitting at an 80.
Yeah. People were pissed from each side. Like people who, hate Kaepernick because what he stands for, they hated it. People that stand for Kaepernick hated it because they're like, this is what you're going to give us? Him back in the NFL? I mean, or him back in the Madden video game? Like, this guy's an NFL player. I mean, he's still great shape and everything like that. However, owners won't bring him to the team because it's too much of a political situation because that's what it's turned into. You know what I mean? Like, when he didn't stand for the flag, man, did that piss people off.
I'll say this. Like, I'm a huge Colin Kaepernick supporter. I don't see anything wrong whatsoever about kneeling for the flag. But the idea now in 2020, when you see, like, a shitty player starting for any team, and people are like, wow, this guy's playing and Colin Kaepernick sitting at home. It's like, dude, it's been 5 years since he's played football. Maybe not that long. Probably about 4 years. But, like, come on. Like, he's not, at this point, he's not what he was. Last we saw him, he wasn't even that good. Like, at this point in 2020, I don't know if it's more of a football thing or if it's more of just like a talent thing. You know what I mean? Or not even distraction thing, but more of a talent thing. That's what I'm trying to say. That's how I feel. Yeah, and but I'm a Colin Kaepernick supporter. Okay. I am. I am. Promise.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things. I mean, he did take a team to a Super Bowl. He was a Pro Bowler. You know what I mean? But it's like one of those things that he should still get a shot. I mean, you see, he should get a shot with the Jets. Look at the Jets, for God's sakes.
But they're trying to lose. That's the difference. Look at the last time they brought in a polarizing figure, Tim Tebow. That backfired on them.
Okay.
Right.
We could go on forever about this.
No, we could. I see what you're saying, and I
wait. Are they trying to lose so they can get like a better draft pick?
Yeah, they suck. They've got rid of so many good players this offseason. Their coach sucks too, though. So don't, that's part of it. But they're bad. Yeah,
and they're ran they're just a horrible ran organization. Their owner's kind of an asshole, I guess.
Who's their owner?
Is football over?
No. Patriots play here in like 30 minutes.
Week 10 just happened, so we're like, getting into the thick of things. So.
Yeah. Is this the regular football season? Like, did they change the timing at all?
They got rid of the preseason. There was no preseason games. So, like, the first couple weeks of football was a little rough to watch for some teams. College football, they've fucked that season up bad. So they, some conferences were starting on time, some weren't. The Big Ten was like the big one that they weren't going to play at all. And then all these other conferences started going, and they like were moderately able to do it like successfully. So the Big Ten didn't start until October 24th, I think it was. They started like 2 months later than everyone else. But they're still shooting for that same timeline to make the playoffs. And they gave themselves, when they started versus when the playoffs start, there's like no padding right there for any games to be canceled. You know what I mean? Like in the NFL, they've had to cancel a couple games and they've just been able to switch around like the bye weeks and whatnot. But for the Big Ten, they've already had to cancel a couple games. They gave themselves like no wiggle room to make those games up, And a lot of people think that they did it on purpose because it was like the athletic directors, maybe not even that. It was the higher ups of the conferences in general. Like they didn't want to do it. They got proved wrong that it could happen. So they that was kind of their petty way of being like making sure it didn't happen. That's the theory. I don't know if that's true. That's what a lot of people think happened.
Man, I feel bad for collegiate athletes. This must be awful.
It sucks. Luckily, I don't think any conferences are doing spring football because that was the initial That was the initial plan, and that was not going to work in any way. That would have pushed too much stuff back. There was God, I forget the team. There was 2 college teams that were like scheduled to play a couple weeks ago. God, what were the teams? They were not good teams, but they had to reschedule the game. They didn't postpone it because there was, the matchup. They just rescheduled for a later year, and they rescheduled it for 2029. I wish I could look it up. I don't know why they rescheduled it 9 years out. Like, what the hell was the point of that? But
they know something we don't.
I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But basketball's starting soon. Number 1 overall pick, Cade.
Yeah.
Is it LaMelo?
It's LaMelo, man. I know what they're calling it right now.
I hate that family.
Speaking of the Ball family, they're big cultural figures. Let's talk about culture. Let's get into it.
That was nice.
Yeah.
What about it, Cade?
Well,
culture?
The Ball family sucks. I'll agree with you on that. I think we can all agree on that. But hey, culture. Things that are kind of happening out right now is, Tonique had a bunch of album reviews go out today. Or no, not today, this last week. And, some diving into the Wallows. The Wallows. You guys listen to the Wallows?
I've dabbled.
Okay, so the Wallows are an interesting band because their bassist, I want to say, or their guitar player, I know he's not the lead singer, also is a huge actor. You guys ever seen 13 Reasons Why?
I've dabbled.
I've never seen it, but I know it.
AJ, it's the main guy. He's in this band. He's in the band. The guy with glasses, whatever his name is.
What's his name? Glasses.
Wait, are they called Wallows? Is it just Wallows?
Wallows, yeah. He's the main dude in 13 Reasons Why. He's like the cover child.
Yeah, I
the
know
poster
who he is.
child.
I can see his name. Are you looking that up, Tomas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
What's his name? It's not Dylan O'Brien, right? That's the dude that looks like Dylan O'Brien.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's not Dylan O'Brien.
But he looks like him, right? Kinda? No?
Not really. Nah. He looks like Mark Ronchetti.
Minute? Mark Ronchetti. We have Dylan Minute, Brandon LeMasters, and Cole Preston.
It's the Anyway.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. I didn't know he was in a band.
Yeah,
that show is ridiculous. Super overran its course. You guys never watched it?
No, seriously.
No.
I mean, it's been going on. They make a joke about every season. They're like, how many times does this chick have to die? You know what I mean? Because it's like
that's the
every
thing.
season.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is, I'm going to come out and say, did you guys ever watch that show, Pretty Little Liars? Did you guys ever see the premise?
Yes.
So I watched that show. Not proud to say it whatsoever. Dude, that show was probably like 7 seasons too long. Like, it was ridiculous. Same kind of thing. Anyway, sorry. Getting off topic.
No, but yeah, it was a review by Kyra Point out of Chicago. So shout out. Yeah, it's a great read.
Nice.
But the Wallows Fed, they're indie rock. They're really good. Would I listen to them like religiously? Probably not. But it's all right. It's good. I guess their newest EP, it was called Remote, because I guess they had already written all this material. However, kind of like the same story with everything, COVID kind of hit, and then they had to make it remote, like how we're doing this podcast, hence the title, Remote. Wow. Yeah. But we have some other reviews as well. We had from a writer, Tom Carlson. He had the album review by Jake McKelvey and the Countertops. Here's what you do. So when I'm editing these articles, I usually put the music on of the album that they're reviewing in the background, so I can kind of get the taste of the direction that they're going with. And I listened to this, and it was a very Stepan, help me pronounce this because you know how I am with words, but avant-garde
Yeah.
What? What is that? Sounded good to me.
So
What's
they,
that mean?
so it means basically it's like its own style of art. It's like very unique. You know, they're not really. They're kind of going off a beaten path and trying something different. And anyway, it was very Americana, but not a little punk Americana. It was different, that's for sure. But I couldn't even find the album on Spotify. That's how little this band
wow.
is. They're on Bandcamp, I think.
See,
Yeah.
that's awesome. You know, it's you can review, and there's definitely places for that. But like to review these people who probably don't get as much coverage, I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, for real.
In my opinion, sorry if I offend anybody else, but Tom has been the MVP of the culture department for the last couple weeks. He has some great articles.
He had the article about contemporary opera.
Mm-hmm.
Stepan, did you check that one out?
I did, yeah. You told me to check it out. I did. He's a good writer. It's good.
Great writer, yeah. I mean, that article was so immersive and informative about contemporary opera. I mean, stuff that I obviously didn't know about, you know. It's a good article when you're learning something new.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's pretty much it for culture. I don't know. What's kind of going on? What's kind of trending right now?
Well, did you guys see the riots in D.C. by the Proud Boys, Trump supporters, all those going on?
Yeah.
No.
Well, there's riots, and the news coverage isn't as crazy, and there's not as much tear gas. Let me retract that. There's no tear gas or rubber bullets being used. It's ridiculous, dude. It's just stupid. Very, very stupid.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It really, I think, serves to highlight the difference in the way that law enforcement treats white people versus people of color. You know, it's as if we needed another reminder.
It was pretty telling. Like, it was pretty close to like the first the first protests that happened back in June, like a month or so before. You had like those people protesting, wearing masks at city halls and getting in guards' faces and yelling at them. Like, I mean, it came full circle. You know, those people didn't get punished. We see these protests for social injustice get super out of hand, and like the police officers are aggressive, and then now it's going back to, okay, it's not a big deal for these people. It pisses me off so much, dude. It's so hard to watch, but it is what it is, I guess. It's a sad thing.
Yeah. You know what? R.I.P. Alex Trebek, man.
Dude.
Oh, man. That.
Huge cultural topic. I mean, how long was he doing Jeopardy for? Like,
I don't even want to guess because I don't know. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was a long time. Well, it was super emotional whenever he first announced.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm gonna throw out a hot take here. I think he was like kind of pretentious. Like he was like a little bit of a jerk sometimes.
No, 100%.
Like
yeah, he was.
And I don't know if that was like part of the charm to him, but like he would just totally like kind of talk down to contestants and just, you know, he was very smug.
He was.
No, that's true.
You know, different generation though. You know, I mean.
It's totally different generational approach.
Right?
Yeah.
And that probably was a big thing back in the 80s, 90s when he, you know.
Yeah.
If you had your ideal, if you could choose, who would you pick to replace Trebek?
Jimmy Fallon. Right. You seen that guy run a game show on his talk show? Dude? Flawless.
You know, I will give him that. I'm not a big fan of Jimmy Fallon. But at the same time, I heard Donald Trump was in the run for it.
Are you joking?
Swear to God. That
would be a fitting end.
Cannot even pronounce half of the topics that pop up on the show. Come on.
Dude, he could get a job, you know? A former president as a game show host.
He's gonna need one.
A former president.
Yeah.
No, that can't be true. I saw people throwing out names, and you know who? Actually, a lot of people were talking about this guy replacing him. I forget his name. The dude that did, he was in Star Trek, and he did Reading Rainbow.
Oh, LeVar Burton.
Yes, a lot of people are throwing his name out.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good dude.
As a potential.
Good dude.
I totally forgot about the guy. I didn't even know it was the same guy that was the dude in Star Trek with the things until people were talking about it.
Yeah, he also was
no way, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Roots. You guys know about that show?
Heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like slavery, stuff like that, like 12
It's like
Years a
the mini series, right?
Yeah.
What about speaking of people replacing people? What do you guys think about Johnny Depp getting fired from Harry Potter?
Fucking bullshit.
Okay, so what's the controversy over this? I see so much stuff, but I've not seen any actual explanation of it.
Well, hold up. Stepan, guess what? AJ told me the other day.
Hold on. Let's talk about it first before we discuss that.
That blew my mind. It's disgusting. Okay, go ahead. Lead the topic, dude.
So, I'll probably come off a little ignorant because I don't know the full facts, but they were him and Amber Heard were married for not that very long. Then they got divorced. No, they didn't get divorced. Fuck. I don't know the timeline. I think.
And she's an actress, right?
Yeah, she's the girl that's in Aquaman with the red hair. So
Gotcha.
she came out and said that he was like abusive to her, and like he was getting ripped online. Like people were super pissed at him, telling people that he shouldn't be in these movies, whatever. And this probably spans back to when the first Fantastic Beasts movie came out. It's probably like 5 years. So anyway, turns out that she was the abusive one to him. Like there's all kinds of evidence. They caught her on like a recording. I wish I knew more about this. They caught her on a recording. She was the abusive one. So people started hating her, started feeling bad for Johnny Depp. He did he was suing all these different places for defamation because they were saying that he was like an abusive guy, whatnot. And he like lost his case for whatever reason, but he just got fired and replaced, or they're in the process of replacing him. But yeah, they fired him from the Fantastic Beasts movies, the Harry Potter movies, one of the biggest franchises. That is, produced by Warner Bros. And like I said, Amber Heard is in Aquaman, which is also a Warner Bros. Property, and she wasn't fired from Aquaman 2. She's still on that project.
Interesting.
I wish I knew more about it, but Cade, go ahead and tell them what I told you.
So apparently, she defecated on his bed.
In his bed. In his bed.
Whoa.
Not like sleeping and accidentally, like purposely, like did it.
What do you mean
as like
I don't think that's okay. That can happen. That's kind of weird.
As like a was she trying to spite him?
Like she looked at it. Well, I don't know. This is how I'm imagining it.
We're editorializing
She was
here.
like, "Fuck this guy. I'm gonna stand up and do my business on his fucking bed where he sleeps."
I could
Jesus
be
Christ.
wrong here, but I've obviously never seen this. I've heard this, or I've read it on comments, or I think I heard it in a video that I watched, that there are court documents of pictures of it. Like he took photographs.
He took a picture
to prove it, and they're like in court documents as like evidence that she did that shit. So somewhere out there.
Isn't that crazy, dude? Like,
So I mean, but you got to get like a DNA sample, because like, what if it was him and he just like took a picture of it and is like trying to frame it on her? Like.
Yeah.
If that's the case,
That
then,
could be possible.
I mean, those two are just
This
weird.
shit-
I need to look this up, but I can't close it because of the screen here. I should have had my laptop here. I want to look this up to get more into it, because I don't want to be. I guarantee I'm leaving out so much stuff. But a lot of people are pissed because, at the end of the day, she straight up lied, trying to get him in trouble, trying to ruin his career, saying that he was the abusive one when she was the abusive one. And like I said, they have voice recordings of her where she straight up admitted it. And then the fact that he just lost his job from one of the biggest properties out there. Like, Harry Potter is fucking huge. And he was, like, the main villain in that movie.
So, what do you think was her rationale for doing that? Like, what would prompt her to go out and say, Johnny Depp is abusing me when she's the abusive one?
I mean, she's psycho. She obviously knew she was in the wrong, so she wanted to probably try to switch it against him, you know what I mean? Before it got out that she was the abusive one. That,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think she was even like I said, I really should know more about this before I start putting stuff out there, but fuck it. I think she was even like, you know, like hurting herself to make it look like he was doing it. Like, you know, scratching and bruising and all this kind of stuff. Like, she was psychotic. And it probably started as, you know, and I'm totally speculating here, it probably started as a thing like, you know, if you don't, like, he's trying to leave her, and if she's like, if you don't leave me, or if you don't stay with me, I'm going to tell everybody that you abuse me, and I'm going to ruin your career, you know? And like I said, I feel like I heard that somewhere, but I could be speculating. I probably am. For legal purposes, I'll say allegedly that happened.
I think as like, you know, as a society, we do such a bad job with prioritizing mental health. You know, it's such an afterthought. Like there's obviously some very serious, like, you know, psychological stress going on, and probably for both of them.
Yeah.
You know, and
no doubt.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I'm very pissed.
All right.
They pulled him off. I just want to say that. All right.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm too, actually.
But
and Johnny Depp's a great actor.
Do you know this dude? What is his name? The guy that they're picking to replace him is not a bad choice. I forget his name. Did you ever watch Rogue One, Cade?
No.
Look it up afterwards. He's in there. I forget his name. Fuck. Anyways, it's not a bad choice, but it's not Johnny Depp, you know? But, yeah. I mean, I know we're trying to wrap up, and we'll wrap up here soon, but, you know, Johnny Depp, in my opinion, he never really fit in that franchise. You know, like, at this point, he's so much of a character that, like, to picture him in the Harry Potter world is just kind of weird, you know? Don't you think, at this point?
No, I can agree with that. You know, when first watching Harry Potter, I mean, I didn't know a single actor. I mean, obviously we're younger at the time, so, but I mean, it was like you knew those characters played by those actors as them. You know, when I see Johnny Depp in Fantastic Beasts, I was like, holy shit, I can't envision that. Even though there were some American actors that I knew from other pieces, like this was such a bigger project than anything they've ever been in before. But Johnny Depp has been in so many big pictures. I was like, man, this is hard to envision him as this person.
Because especially he's like at this point in his career, he's notorious for like the weird Tim Burton, you know, characters that he plays. That it's so hard to like not picture him as Jack Sparrow or the Mad Hatter or fucking Willy Wonka. You know what I mean? Like. At this point, people forget.
Was he in the first? What is it called? Magical Beast?
Fantastic Beast. He was at the end. He was at the end. Yeah, he was. What was the guy's name? Colin Farrell. Like Colin Farrell's character turned into him. So he was in there for like a minute. But I mean, dude, they had like 6 movies planned out. Something ridiculous. That were, and then this. You know, pushing him out of the movie pushed the production back for the third one, or pushed the release date back a whole year.
So can they take him back, or is that just like...
You never know. I mean...
just too awkward, or...
Well, you never know, because, like, if public outcry is big enough, it could happen. Like, that happened with James Gunn. I don't know if you saw when he got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy. Did you ever see about that, Stepan?
No, not at all.
So James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like a Disney movie, he had like tweets from like 2010, and they were fucking weird. They were bad. Like, you know, he was very much trying to be like an edgy humor type guy. Like made jokes about like raping, like being inappropriate with kids, like pretty bad stuff. But they were obviously humor, they like attempts at jokes. They weren't funny, but they were attempts at being funny, and they were 10 years ago, and they just started circulating, so they fired him. And people were livid. and I think it was like around a year. Like even a lot of the actors were like, "I'm not going to be in the third movie," which was already scheduled to like,
Holy shit.
start. So at the end of the day, after the outcry, like a year later, they brought him back to direct the third movie. But I mean, at that point, he had already signed on to do Suicide Squad with DC, with Warner Bros. So they pushed like production of the third Guardians of the Galaxy back like 2 years, which sucks. But they got him back. I mean, if at this point, for anything, if public outcry is like loud enough, you can get your way pretty much. People know that too.
Yeah, you can surmount cancel culture. That's pretty crazy.
You can fabricate all these election fraud details and evidence if you are loud enough. Right?
So true.
Come
Absolutely.
full circle, Cade. You want to end this off to get to go watch a game?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for watching, obviously. Thank you, Stepan, for filling in for Jake. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it was actually cool. I mean, this is the second episode, right? First one being on video. Yeah. Yeah. It was actually cool for this episode because we had each department of Tonique here. AJ Sports, Stepan as political editor, and myself as the culture editor. So, yeah, it was a great episode. And make sure to obviously subscribe to our newsletter. We did some couple of changes to the website, so we hope you like them. And we got some better, some cool articles that are coming out right now. We're definitely upping our content creation. So check it out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also, Jake's not here, but I'll do the plug for him. Avid, avxd.apparel. Follow them on Instagram. And yeah, we appreciate it, and thanks so much.
See you, gentlemen.
All right, gentlemen.
Peace.